It's been said that Naples is too much. Too much deep history, too much rich food, too much people, but never ever dull. In this video, we review the usual port basics and transport tips, then take a short walk near the port to see how deep and rich even a small taste can be. Spoiler, very. I'm Troy, and this is the Port Lowdown. Naples is the third largest city in Italy, along the southwest coast. It's been long famous as a city of cultural riches. The whole historical center is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Super dense population with matching traffic, and living in the shadow of that, Mount Vesuvius. It famously erupted in 79 AD, wiping out the cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum, among others. But this is still an active and dangerous volcano, with recent eruptions from the last 100 years. Thus, the star excursion here is Pompeii, the city that, buried in ash for hundreds of years, presents a nearly intact Roman town. Artifacts from that time and period can also be found at the Archaeological Museum of Naples. Nearby, the ancient site of Herculaneum can also be visited. But the area is also known as a jumping-off point for the Amalfi Coast, Sorrento, and ferries to the island of Capri. And then there's the city itself. There's lots to see and do. We docked at Naples Stazione Marittima, amidst a dense and massive harbor, at the foot of the historic center. Early morning sailing was magnificent, with Vesuvius surprisingly close. Lots of ferry traffic here as well, of course. Two large ships straddle the big terminal complex. We exited to the outside facing the usual tour bus lineup. Yeah, it's all Pompeii. The terminal has a bottom section for buses to pass, where we were asked to avoid and take the second floor to the terminal concourse. Just follow the yellow lines and employees will most likely direct you inside the first floor entrance. There are elevators or this massive staircase. On the second floor, we continued along this huge shopping concourse. The shopping here is pretty interesting though, with clothing stores that I, frankly, haven't seen anywhere else. Unique food stores, lemon-based goods being a specialty, are also here, as well as a pharmacy store. The place also hosts a wealth of services: tourist info, info on car rental, a standalone ATM for emergency euros, and big, clean bathrooms. Note the lack of a toilet seat. Such bidet-style toilets are common here. By the way, public toilets in southern Italy are hard to find. All cafes and restaurants are required to provide them, however, as well as museums and other attractions. Now, as such, we made sure we did our business here before setting out, or planned to use a cafe or museum bathroom. All the way at the end, we reached the escalators going to the ground level and exit. Once down, we discovered more services. This bag storage facility with friendly but non-English speaking staff. We did fine with Google Translate. Here's some pricing at their desk. Stepping outside and across the middle traffic section, and we found this small hotel. Now, that was a shock. Certainly an option if needed, and it looks pretty modern. Now, that middle section is walkable. There's a small cafe here with a pretty decent collection of food on the run. And foosball with your coffee. But for our purposes, we were directed straight ahead, past the sculpture, to the exit where we were greeted by troops of taxi and tour operators, as well as pre-arranged tours.
No taxi? No, grazie.
Taxis here are regulated. See our link in the description for the city website and attach PDFs to get the full skinny on these. You'll find lots of tour offerings here, with some vendors having their own stations and offices outside. This area is quite bustling and a bit on the chaotic side. Local buses to the airport, mingle with the tour buses, mingle with the crowds heading to the Molo Beverello ferry port, among other places. An open-air Grand Central station. If you're taking the ferry, it's best to check the schedule. See our link for schedules and ticket purchase info to Capri. Now, we heard of this grand and relatively new metro terminal right in front before you cross the street. Now that goes to a metro station. Station Municipio. We knew it went underground, but I wasn't expecting this. The concourse is so long you can't see the end. Not to worry, they have a moving sidewalk. With archaeological finds along the route and the vastness of this space, it was certainly unlike any station I've ever seen. Now, the station serves the yellow number 1 line, and really, for the historic center, it's all one needs. Getting to the Archaeological Museum from here, for example, is about 19 minutes. Buying tickets here is pretty easy, the kiosks translating to English. For most point-to-point purchases, a single-use ticket, which has a time limit, is fine. See our links for further info. Even if you don't use the metro and choose to walk, like we did, the station serves as a temporary shelter from the elements and, more importantly, the traffic. Let's just say Naples has a reputation for being an adventurous walk for pedestrians. The seemingly endless traffic weaves around everything, including people, so it's advised just to follow the local custom of moving out there. It's a leap of faith, but motorists and pedestrians all seem to have an unspoken understanding. A visit here doesn't seem quite complete without doing this at least a few times. We opted for a short walk to explore the immediate area. Right away, we hit a snag. Our intention was to reach the Ho-Ho bus stop in front of Castle Nuovo, so we left the port area, entered the sidewalk, and turned left. Mistake. Turning left and crossing the street meant facing heavy construction and a high wall. We then needed to round a corner and walk up a steep hill. No thanks. So we reversed and entered the metro station underground concourse. Once at the end, we went up to street level, using the stairs or elevator to face Piazza Municipio. Then we simply turned left towards the Royal Palace. We found the walk here a bit more forgiving and the incline less drastic. The sidewalks are pretty well maintained for the most part, cobblestony, but flat. We passed an ATM, and this giant mall, Galleria Umberto I, which opened in 1890 as part of the area's redevelopment. It's now part of the UNESCO World Heritage Area. It's a sight to behold, of course. Just ask your shipmates. Check out this McDonald's, which not only sports the grandest backdrop imaginable, but sells some pretty different offerings. By the way, if you love exploring on your own and discovering hidden gems on your cruise, be sure to like and subscribe to find our growing library of port reports, ship tours, and tips. We kept walking and peeked inside the Church of St. Ferdinando, built in the mid-17th century. Doesn't look like much from the outside until we got in and glanced up and around at the magnificent decor. And it's quiet, meditative even, a spot of calm amidst the hustle outside. Just across the street is the main attraction here, the Royal Palace of Naples, facing the equally famous square Piazza del Plebiscito, which was closed for an event on our visit. First built in 1600, this palace has not only hosted long lines of regional rulers and viceroys, but also lots and lots of expansions. Bet your house edition didn't look like this though. While there are many areas open to the public, the big attraction being the seemingly endless line of rooms inside the royal apartments. How's this for a home theater? And besides that, there's several separate museums at the complex. This one has temporary exhibits, like this really cool one about Lord of the Rings author J.R.R. Tolkien, with his writing desk. And this small but swanky museum celebrating the turn-of-the-century opera star Enrico Caruso, a native of Naples. Caruso was one of the original media stars, made famous in recordings, radio, even movies. Like Pavarotti and Michael Jackson combined, almost an opera god. There are some stunning displays, including costumes, and audio guides, which require leaving your ID at the door. And of course, the bathrooms are huge and clean. The palace area can take up most of the day if you let it, but it's important to leave time for eating, a cultural requirement wherever we go. Double that for Italy. And here, we lucked out by visiting one of the area's most famous cafes, Gran Cafe Gambrinus, across from the palace. This cafe has been the center of high society since the mid-1800s, hosting many presidents and luminaries such as Ernest Hemingway and Sigmund Freud. I initially thought this was touristy until I realized everybody came here, or at least stopped by at some point. When you walk in, you see the traditional standing espresso counter. Just drink it and go. A standard breakfast in Italy. There's also a fancy dining area in the back for the upper crust and a sidewalk area where you can watch the parade of humanity go by while getting table service. This is a very small table and very crowded with food. Ham and cheese, pastry sampler, and what is this, avocado? Well, that's with the ice cream. Yeah.
And cappuccino.
Not sure what they're trying to say here with an American flag and this fruit cup, except that this is not Italian. They have a full lunch menu, but their specialty is the baked goods. Check out these display cases inside. There's also a long-standing tradition here of buying an unclaimed coffee and leaving the receipt for someone in need. Very cool. And of course, no trip here is complete without sampling pizza. It's a defining part of the culture here, so much so that UNESCO declared it an intangible cultural heritage. Traditionally, there's only the margherita and the marinara pizza as Neapolitan, but variations abound. We just rolled the dice with an eatery we found nearby, Trattoria Pizzeria Nardones. It was quite good. The difference being the crust is softer yet crispy on the outside, and that made it special. All this took about 6 to 7 hours. I had some regrets not seeing more, but decided to wait for a later trip. I'd classify this place as a deep dive city, with always more stuff to uncover than you'll ever have time for. Another Mediterranean port that made that impression in a big way was Istanbul. Check out our first impressions and port guide for this amazing city here. And as always, we really enjoy all your comments and questions. Keep them coming and we'll do our best to answer you.